on the beat.
Let's talk about how them leadership, let's not call it leadership, let's call it rulers and the rulers masters. It's part of the reason why the mindset is in such a kerfuffle or in such a
In shambles.
shambles very easily right now. So this is very critical to what you're doing, to what we're trying to do on our show as well, and what we're trying to push Bitcoin is that our mental state, our physical state, our economic state after colonization, they might have made you feel like you got your independence, but you're actually further backward because now it's not just physical, it's economical, it's psychological, it's financial, like list goes on and on. How does your initiative attempt to resolve that? We are trying to say, hey, monetary system, just switch to Bitcoin. At least you can start freeing yourself, but IMF and World Bank doesn't want that. In your own initiative, how do you go about fixing that?
I think it goes back to what I said, right? There are a lot of things in the world that you cannot change.
Mm.
And even trying to wrap your head around these things will make you go mad. So
Mm.
the thing that we do is we focus on ourselves. We bring it back to us, right? So I'm going to take you through an exercise that I usually do with my coaching students, but I'll give it to you for free now. So the secret to success is not to try and avoid or get rid of your problems, right? I used to pray to the Almighty to remove all obstacles from my path, remove all the obstacles that we have in Africa, remove all of these crazy people. But in the same breath, I would also pray for blessings and abundance and wonderful things in my life. So when obstacles came along my path on my way to achieve those wonderful things, I would also cry and say, why me? Like, why God? Why are you doing this to me? It wasn't until I learned that the secret of success is to grow yourself so you're bigger than your problems, right? So
John Maxwell type of thing.
Bro.
so you're bigger than your problems. So imagine, I want to go through the exercise that I mentioned. So imagine we have a chart, right? On one side, this is you, Kenny. On the other side, this is your big problem, right? And let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, you are a level 2 person and your problem is at level 5. The question is this a big problem or a little problem?
If I'm thinking in the box of the current situation, which I'm learning from Brazen lately, is that it's a big problem. But if I take myself outside of the box, it's actually not a problem. The problem doesn't exist.
It's two small problems from my perspective.
So you're a level 2 person and the problem is at level 5. It is a big problem because you're a level 2 person. We're not
Yeah.
necessarily saying you, Kenny, but as a level 2 person, anybody in the audience.
I'm a very analytical person, and I'm starting to learn a lot from my body here. Is that if you actually take the time and you hold off and you look at the problem and you break it down to pieces, the problem doesn't actually exist.
We'll see. But let's say you're a level 2 person right now, right? Like, and you grow yourself and you work on yourself
Yeah.
and you grow yourself to be a level 8 person. The
Mhm.
same problem, is it a big problem or is it a little problem?
It now becomes a small problem because now you've grown
Exactly.
beyond
Right? The same problem becomes a little problem. But let's say you continue to grow yourself and you become a level 10 person. Is it a big problem or a little problem?
the littlest problem. You don't even have to
It's
worry about.
no problem at all,
Yeah.
right? Because it doesn't even register in your mind as a problem. So you just see it as another thing that you have to do. If you understand where I'm trying to go with this,
Yeah.
So
it's never about the size of the problem. It's always about the size of you, right? So now instead of me praying to the Almighty to remove all of the obstacles and fear,
Yeah.
I pray for wisdom. I pray for courage. I pray for discernment and patience for myself and for others on this journey, right? That we call life. And then I go for it. And
Yep.
that's called personal development.
Yep. I would like to add to that too, because even at the level 2, you can overcome a level 5 problem before you get to your level 7, 8, and 9, 10. If you learn,
Definitely you can. It will
yeah,
be harder for you to do that. But
but I think
we're not trying to work harder. We're trying to work smarter, right?
Mhm.
Because if the measure of success was about how hard you work, then the women back home in Africa who are always in the fields, the men who are pushing tons of bricks would have the award for the hardest working people in the world. But why are they not the most successful?
You
It's
can.
not about how hard you work, it's about how smart you work. And that's something that we need to realize. That's why these other communities always have an up on us. As much as you want to say, yes, maybe Cameroonians are all in the HHA community. It's not about getting the job in the HHA. It's about owning the HHA business, the
Yep.
industry,
Yep.
right? So that's the difference.
I love it. I actually like that. I like that exercise. I'm just going to give you guys a little story. Because from my perspective, when I look at it, back in the day, I used to compete in powerlifting. And in powerlifting or in fitness in general, there's this thing called progressive overload. Essentially, what it's just saying is that you grow with resistance over time, right? There is the story of the guy and the cow, right? The kid and the cow. So the story goes, I don't remember the original name of the story, but it goes, there's this kid who had a cow, baby cow. And every day he would carry the cow on his back and take it up the hill to graze. And he'd come back down. And over time, right? So now it's 2 years later, the cow is bigger, but he's still carrying the cow up the hill and down, right? But what is happening there is actually progressive overload. Every time he takes a cow up the hill and down. Maybe when he was, let's say, maybe when he was 10 years old, maybe he would have not been able to carry a medium-sized cow up the hill and down. But every day when he carried the small cow up and down, he grew, right? So maybe he was a level 2 person, like you mentioned. But he did this for a month, and now he's a level 3 person or a level 4 person. And as the cow is growing, it's no longer a big deal. Him carrying a cow up the hill is no longer. But if someone was to start from day one with trying to carry a medium-sized cow and they've never carried a cow up the hill before, it would be, that would seem like a massive issue for them. However, if they continued practicing trying to carry that cow up the hill, they will now go from a level 1 person and carrying that cow up the hill. Is that along the same lines there?
Definitely. Right? Success is, I think Art Nightingale said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So it's progressive, right? You have to continue going at it. You have to continuously face your fears. You have to continuously work on yourself. You have to take the class. You have to eat the right food. You have to head to the gym or do the exercise, right? And sometimes there are some days where you don't feel like you have to, you don't feel like you want to do it, right? And there's also that thing about mindset. You can't kick yourself if one day you didn't feel like it, and at the end of the day, you're like, oh, how stupid. You should have done it. You should have done this and that. Sure, but tomorrow you can try again. And you need to start talking to yourself positively as well, because there's so much negativity in the world. There's so much that people want to throw at you. And if you are not your biggest supporter, then nobody else will be. So you have to be your own parent. You have to be your own cheerleader. You have to be all of the things that you need in order to achieve, in order to succeed, whatever success looks like for you.
Absolutely.